Hey everyone, this is Julie Edwards. I work in development with The Small Things, and we are here today to premiere a video as part of our Season of Saves year-end campaign. I want to introduce the wonderful lady who is with me here. This is Dorothy Goldberg. Dorothy is known as Mama Becca in Tanzania. She is actually the mother to Becca Russell, who is the founder of TST, of The Small Things. And she has been visiting Tanzania since 2011 along with her late husband, David Russell. David and Dorothy were founding board members of The Small Things and have been major donors of The Small Things since its inception. Since David's untimely death 3 years ago, Dorothy has continued her dedicated support of the mission of The Small Things and the community there. So thank you, Dorothy, for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here. It's hard to believe that I'm in Denmark, you're in Georgia in the US, and this is broadcasting through Tanzania. So
I know, it's the magic of technology sometimes works great in social media. So We're going to jump right into the video because we know those of you who are tuned in want to see it. I will tell you up front that we are going to replay it a little bit later in the live. So those of you who are coming in late, you can stick around, you'll see it again. But this is a pair of brothers, Japhet and Johnson, who have been actually a part of the TST community for a while. They came in when they were very young. They tragically lost their parents at a young age, which you'll see that in the video, and I won't tell you the whole story. And through various means, TST came to the scene and helped these boys and took them in under their wing. And earlier in the week, we posted the beginning of their story, and this video is their journey with The Small Things and where they are now. So we wanted to share this with you because these moments wouldn't be possible without the donors for The Small Things and what you do to help the community there and the children there and the families there every day. So we're going to roll the video now, and we'll be back afterwards.
Johnson and Japhet come from a town called Rongai. It's up near the border with Kenya. The area that they're in, there's very little infrastructure, there's very little access to things like hospitals, good quality schools. It can be a real struggle for the families that are there. Johnson and Japhet came into our care when Johnson was about 4 and Japhet was about 13, 14. They'd lost their parents and they were living with their elderly grandparents who needed support and were being helped through our family preservation program to try and figure out the best solution for them. Ideally, that means supporting the families so that the children can stay at home. In some cases, that means coming into care at Happy Family Children's Village, but usually those kids are able to return home. There's very few who end up in long-term care.
Mara ya kwanza, hao watoto walikuwa kwenye hali mbaya. Walikuwa wanaishi na bibi alikuwa ni mfanyabiashara ya pombe. Kwenye mazingira ya pombe yanakuwa ni hatarishi sana kwa watoto mara nyingi kwa sababu watu wakishalewa wanakuwa wanajisahau. Na mara nyingi walikuwa ni hawaendi shule. Mara nyingi wanasema wanaenda shule lakini wanaishia mtaani. Kwa kweli hali ilikuwa sio nzuri.
When TST got the call, first for Johnson and then for Japhet when there began to be abductions happening of young boys in the area, they came into care and they were not in good shape. They'd been through a lot of trauma. They were in bad shape physically. There hadn't always been enough food. They'd had stunting. So it was a really difficult time. Japhet at that point didn't have any paperwork, so he was placed way behind in school with kids much younger than him. He just had no chance to catch up. Johnson was an easier case for us. Having to come into care younger, it was much easier for him to form healthy attachments with the mamas and kids. He's had a lot of success settling into a family environment, and he continues to have counseling. You know, we continue to work with all of our kids on their mental health over time.
Kabla watoto walikuwa wamechoka kiafya na kiakili pia. Walikuwa kama wanachanganyikiwa. Ninashukuru TST kwa sababu wamechukua jitihada kubwa sana kuwasaidia wale watoto. Ni pamoja na kuwapa mahitaji yao yote ya kimwili, kiakili na kiroho. Na zaidi sana kitu ambacho TST wamefanya kikubwa ambacho kimewasaidia, ile ukaribu, kuwapenda, kuwatia moyo. Kwa hiyo wale watoto wamekuwa wamepona nafsi. Walikuwa wako kwenye hali ambayo sio nzuri. Kwa kweli sasa hivi wako vizuri.
Japhet has done so much better since moving from academic over to a vocational program. He's become very, very close with a number of our student teachers and our staff, young men who are able to kind of, help him understand that he's not alone, that a lot of people have been through these type of struggles and come out the other side. We have a really holistic approach where we recognize that each family and each child needs different things. And so it's never going to be one size fits all. Unfortunately, this year, because of coronavirus, Japhet's school ended up shutting down for a number of months. The upside was that he got to come and stay at the Children's Village with us, and he got to spend some time with his brother, which was really amazing. Like we say, we try to keep families connected, and you do what you can from a distance, but there's nothing like getting to spend time together. There are lots of kids like this, where even after every effort has been made at keeping the families together, they need somewhere safe to go. We have an opportunity as TST, you have an opportunity here as a donor to give another chance to kids like this. We are so grateful to those of you who've already given, but I'm asking you to join us in sparking opportunity, sparking hope, sparking brighter futures for kids like Japhet and Johnson.
Okay, I've seen that video a couple of times now, and it's starting to tear up every time I see it. Oh, okay, get myself back together here.
Me too.
So again, everyone, this is Julie Edwards. I work in fundraising with the Small Things, and Dorothy Goldberg, who is one of the founding board members and a major donor. Again, if you missed the video or came in about midway through it, we will be re-showing it in a few minutes, so stay with us. But Dorothy, I know, again, we've both seen the video. We got a little preview of it, but what are your feels when you see that? Because it's obviously being with the organization as long as you have and one of the founding members, what sort of feelings is it evoking you? And I know you know the boys a little bit, so.
Well, every time I see the story of one of these kids, I'm moved, and I can't help but feel it's a miracle what's been achieved with the small things. I mean, the other day I realized Becca was talking about how the Children's Village only started being built 6 years ago. And my husband David and I were walking along the property that the Small Things bought at one of our trips. I think it was must have been 2013, when we were just thinking about buying a piece of property to make this vision happen. And the next thing we knew, there it was being built, and there was a lot of work that went into it. But even before the Children's Village was purchased, Mama Pendo and then later Becca with her had such a vision of what this place could be and how these children could be helped. And so to see it where it is today, where boys like Johnson and Japhet can be really rescued from a very difficult situation and given a future, even with all the obstacles that they faced when they were younger. But that's typical, at the Small Things. In some ways, that's just another day. That's what they do every day.
For them, it's not that. Sadly, in some ways, it's not different or new, but the fact that they're there helping these kids is incredible in the way that they help them. And I know you sponsor 2 children there, and that's one thing that you can do with the Small Things, is you can actually personally sponsor a child, and you get updates from that child throughout the year. So tell us a little bit about your sponsorship and how that works, and how you got involved in that, sort of, what you get from that as a sponsor.
I'm a great fan of sponsorship, and in fact, I'm going to very strongly encourage that we do another sponsorship drive this coming year, because there are only, 60 or 70 families and maybe 40 children that are in the Children's Village that are helped by, they're affected by the Small Things, even though the work that they do has a much wider spread, because it's also a major employer in the area and entire families are helped. But when you sponsor a child at the Small Things, you can really get to know them. I mean, I sponsor 2 girls, and I get their school records, and I get to send them messages, and they send me cards. Now, the two girls that I sponsor were very special, were and are very special to me. One of them, Dianesse, was one of the first children that I met at the orphanage before there even was a children's village. And I walked into the orphanage and she just jumped up in my lap. She jumped on me and, I called her the limpet. She just didn't let me go the whole time. I think that was 2011 or 2012, one of our visits. She didn't let me go. And so as soon as we began the sponsorship program, I began to sponsor her. The other girl that we sponsor is also a very special young lady. She is the sister of one of the kids who was in the orphanage when we first came. And we heard, Mama Pendo heard through her family that they were really unable to care for her anymore. They love her. She was part of a big family network who loved her and gave her wonderful care, but they were really out in the country and she was getting to be school age and they worried that she just wasn't getting what she needed. So I drove myself in my car with Mama Pendo and Becca, and we went up and we got Pendo from her home, where they happily said, please help her, let her have a better life. And now Pendo is, I think, 13 or 14. She's a beautiful and intelligent young woman. She's made the best use of every opportunity that she's had, and I adore her. I also adore Dianesse, who's a bright spark, full of enthusiasm and spirit. So that's the thing. When you sponsor someone, you really get to know these kids, and it makes such a big difference. It's not a lot of money. I sponsor both of them entirely. For a full sponsorship, it's $250 a month. That's a lot. Most people can't afford that. But you can sponsor for as little as $15 a month and anything up from there. And then several people can help to sponsor a child. So many of our children are partially sponsored, and that's okay too. And if you can give more, then give more. That's kind of how I see it. But it's just wonderful to get to know these kids really personally.
Yeah. And you can even visit there, which is great because you can visit there and spend time with the child you sponsor. And I know the Small Things actually encourages people to come visit, which is awesome because not a lot of the organizations that I'm not aware of don't necessarily encourage that. Not to say bad things about other organizations, but just I know that the Small Things does. So we're gonna roll into the second showing of the video here, and then Dorothy and I'll be back in a few minutes. So again, just to set up the video, these are two brothers, Johnson and Japhet, who have been with the Small Things for a while. They came in at a young age after they tragically lost their parents, and this video shows their journey with the Small Things and how they have progressed and how the Small Things have helped them with the support of donors. So if we will roll the video again.
Johnson and Japhet come from a town called Rongai. It's up near the border with Kenya. The area that they're in, there's very little infrastructure. There's very little access to things like hospitals, good quality schools. It can be a real struggle for the families that are there. Johnson and Japhet came into our care when Johnson was about 4 and Japhet was about 13, 14. They'd lost their parents and they were living with their elderly grandparents who needed support and were being helped through our family preservation program to try and figure out the best solution for them. Ideally, that means supporting the families so that the children can stay at home. In some cases, that means coming into care at Happy Family Children's Village, but usually those kids are able to return home. There's very few who end up in long-term care.
Mara ya kwanza, hao watoto walikuwa kwenye hali mbaya. Walikuwa wanaishi na bibi alikuwa ni mfanyabiashara ya pombe. Kwenye mazingira ya pombe yanakuwa ni hatarishi sana kwa watoto mara nyingi, kwa sababu watu wakishalewa wanakuwa wanajisahau, na mara nyingi walikuwa ni hawaendi shule. Mara nyingi wanasema wanaenda shule lakini wanaishia mtaani. Kwa kweli hali ilikuwa sio nzuri.
When TST got the call, first for Johnson and then for Japhet, when there began to be abductions happening of young boys in the area, they came into care and they were not in good shape. They'd been through a lot of trauma. They were in bad shape physically. There hadn't always been enough food. They'd had stunting. So it was a really difficult time. Japhet at that point didn't have any paperwork, so he was placed way behind in school with kids much younger than him. He just had no chance to catch up. Johnson was an easier case for us. having to come into care younger, it was much easier for him to form healthy attachments with the mamas and kids. He's had a lot of success settling into a family environment, and he continues to have counseling. You know, we continue to work with all of our kids on their mental health over time.
Kabla watoto walikuwa wamechoka kiafya na kiakili pia, walikuwa kama wanachanganyikiwa. Ninashukuru TST kwa sababu wamechukua jitihada kubwa sana kuwasaidia wale watoto, ni pamoja na kuwapa mahitaji yao yote ya kimwili, kiakili na kiroho. Na zaidi sana kitu ambacho TST wamefanya kikubwa ambacho kimewasaidia, ile ukaribu, kuwapenda, kuwatia moyo. Kwa hiyo wale watoto wamekuwa wamepona nafsi. Walikuwa wako kwenye hali ambayo sio nzuri. Kwa kweli sasa hivi wako vizuri.
Japhet has done so much better since moving from academic over to a vocational program. He's become very, very close with a number of our student teachers and our staff, young men who are able to kind of, help him understand that he's not alone, that a lot of people have been through these type of struggles and come out the other side. We have a really holistic approach where we recognize that each family and each child needs different things. And so it's never going to be one size fits all. Unfortunately, this year, because of coronavirus, Japhet's school ended up shutting down for a number of months. The upside was that he got to come and stay at the Children's Village with us, and he got to spend some time with his brother, which was really amazing. Like we say, we try to keep families connected, and you do what you can from a distance, but there's nothing like getting to spend time together. There are lots of kids like this, where even after every effort has been made at keeping the families together, they need somewhere safe to go. We have an opportunity as TST, you have an opportunity here as a donor to give another chance to kids like this. We are so grateful to those of you who've already given, but I'm asking you to join us in sparking opportunity, sparking hope, sparking brighter futures for kids like Japhet and Johnson.
And we're back. So I do want to thank everyone who is tuning in to our live watch party today for this premiere of this video. One of the reasons that we're doing this, or the reason that we're doing this, is this month, December, is of course a holiday giving season around the world, and the Small Things has their campaign is called Season of Sparks, and you will see the URL below me now. And we hope that you will consider making a donation to help children like Johnson and Japhet. We do have a $20,000 match from a generous donor, and we're not quite halfway there to meeting the match, but we do want to take full advantage of that. So if you can make a donation, we would be ever so grateful. You can go to that URL. You can give a general donation, which will go to the greatest need, or there's also, if you scroll down, you'll see on the page, you can give to specific things. So you can sponsor a child, as Dorothy was talking about earlier, or you can help pay for daycare scholarship for a child, or you can help feed a child, or you can help sponsor a microfinance loan so that parents can start a small business. There's all kinds of options, and I think there's everything from like $15 up to a couple of $1,000s. So no matter, what your income is or what you might be able to afford, there's an option there for everyone. Or again, you can just make a general donation. But, as Becca pointed out, we want to be able to meet the match. But, the reason we use Season of Sparks is because we felt it was very apt that, you can use this time to spark joy for a child and a family there, to spark hope, to spark a brighter future for them. Dorothy, before I let you go, before we bow out here, I did want you, as a donor who's been a donor with the Small Things for a long time, if someone is watching this and they have never given to the Small Things before, what is different about the organization to you? What makes them great, or a good, a great organization to give to?
Well, I think a lot of people have children who have led them into new ventures in their lives. Sometimes we as parents, we learn from our children. And my husband and I would never have probably visited Africa if our daughter hadn't gone to volunteer at this orphanage in Garanga. And I am so glad now that we did go and visit her, and we've learned about this place, because what's so special about the small things is that not only do they have this incredible children's village for kids who need residential care, but now, and this is something that's only happened in the last few years, I was thinking the person that I sponsor, Pendo, if they had had the services available now that were available when she first came, we probably would have helped her family, her grandparents who she lived with, for her to be able to stay home. In the end, I think she's done very well with TSG. She's a very happy woman. But nowadays, if there's a child whose family just needs a little bit of help to keep them at home, TST will help them if it's a question of school fees or helping with business development. Now, the small things help so many families in the Nkaranga area. It's not just the kids in the residential setting. It's everyone. And now when I go to Tanzania and I walk down the road and someone says, "Who are you?" and I say, "Mama Becca," it's like I said I was the mother of, Mother Teresa or something. They go, "Oh, Mama Becca, she's changed her life. She's changed her village." And so I think what's so special about the small things is that they've been able to spread their services around to help this community in so many ways, including making it possible for children to stay at home or return to home. And that makes residential care less necessary.
And that's a great point. And the program, if you go to the website that Dorothy is talking about, it's called their Family Preservation Program. That's the fancy name for it. But basically, you're correct. I mean, it's not just that the small things, they just take in children in the orphanage and the children live in the orphanage their whole life. In fact, the small things works really, really hard to keep the kids out of the orphanage or out of residential care, and to keep them at home. And that is, to me, you're right, Dorothy, the main critical difference in this organization is that they do other things so that the children can stay at home where they're loved and where they can be cared for by the people who love them. And, whether it be sponsoring their schooling, whether it be providing, livestock for the families or vocational opportunities so the parents can learn trades so they can make money and start a business, a loan to help start that business. I mean, there's so many things. It's not just about keeping the kids. And, I think one of the things that early on when I started working with Becca that she told me, and, this is just my first world white privilege, but is, it is heartbreaking to me. I'm not a mother, but it is heartbreaking to me to know that there are parents in this world who have to choose between keeping their child, knowing they cannot give them a good life, or giving up their child to give them a good life. And so many, families there face that. And, they know that if they give their child up to an organization that, has an orphanage or residential care, that their child will have education and be fed and all the things. And the fact that, the small things is working to not have that model, to have a model where they actually keep the child in the home is just incredible to me. It gives me cold chills. I have cold chills while talking about it.
Well, and there's another aspect, which is that the Small Things is a major employer in the Nkaranga community. And many of the people who work there themselves have been saved from poverty by being able to be part of the community and work there. Even some of the families of the kids who are there come and work. And in fact, the children, as they get older, we're hoping they'll come up back and work. So it's like one long circle of benefit to the community there.
And that's really how it works over time. I think that the organizations that have the most impact on the ground is they build this infrastructure of support. It's not just one arm of support, but it's multiple arms of support where, they're helping the community as a whole. Because you can't, to me, have working in nonprofit as long as I have, you can't be effective as an organization if you're just taking one road. You have to take all the roads and you have to do all the things, to help in all the ways. And, one of the, and thinking back about the video, I wrote this down because I'm going to use this in something, but, one of the things that Becca said the most in there that touched me was, to ease these children's heart and souls, but it's also easing the parents' heart and souls and the family there, the community as a whole, that they have these resources, that they don't feel alone in the world, and it's more than just about the kids. It's about the family and the families in the community as well. So I know we need to wrap this up, but again, before we wrap up, I do want to say again, this is December. It's the holiday giving season. The Small Things campaign is called Season of Sparks. You will see a URL below me. It's thesmallthings.org/sparks. If you go to that page, you can make a donation. You can make a general donation, which will be allotted to the greatest need that we have right now, or you'll scroll down, you'll see that, and I'm looking at on a different screen over here, that there's different things that you can choose as well. You can have a scholarship for a daycare, you can cover fees for children's schooling, you can help pay for food for the kids at the residential center, you can fund a loan for a parent to help start a business. There's all kinds of things, literally from 15.
You can buy a goat.
You can buy a goat or a cow, which is what I really want to do. You can buy livestock, which they share, I believe. Not only give milk for the families, but they can also sell the milk, and they do some farming and things with it. So just everything from $15 up to thousands of dollars. So there's all kinds of options there, but you can do that or just give a general gift again, and we'll use it. And again, we have a $20,000 match from a generous donor this month. So every donation up to $20,000 will be doubled, will be matched dollar for dollar. We're not quite halfway there. We have a few more weeks to meet the match. So please help us meet the match, because I can guarantee you the money will be put to awesome use there. So Dorothy, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. And Dorothy's in Denmark. I'm in Georgia in the U.S. and this is all airing from Tanzania. So we're just bringing the world together. But
thank you for inviting me.
But y'all have an awesome weekend. Again, please go check out the Season of Sparks. And then after we're off this video, we post it on the Facebook page. So if you want to watch it again or share it with your friends and family, you'll be able to do that. Y'all have an awesome weekend, and thank you so much for tuning in.